This video is sponsored by my company, Carnivore Companion. Go to CarnivoreCompanion.com and check out our 4th of July sale. We're currently giving you 15% off all products, as well as $2.50 flat rate shipping. There's no codes needed. Simply go to Carnivore Companion, restock on what you need, and if it's your first time, try out some new tasty seasonings. But that's it. Let's get into the video. All right, I don't want to delay this one. I've been thinking about this for 2 weeks. Today, we're making buffalo chicken mac and cheese. The first thing that we need to do is get our noodle batter, which is really simple. If you've seen my mac and cheese video before, it's just eggs and chicken. So here I have 1 pound of boneless, skinless chicken thighs. I'll throw those right into a food processor. You can use a blender if you want to do this. It's just not nearly as easy as a food processor. Crack in your 2 eggs, put the lid on, and give it a couple pulses just to get it started, because you don't want to full send this thing because it might launch your food processor into a different time and space. So 1, 2, 3, 4. And after 4, you're going to remember that you need to add a little bit of salt to this. I'm going to go with about a half a teaspoon of salt. And then we can pulse a couple more times. Then we're going to set the low and just let it go. After a couple minutes, you should be left with something that's kind of a slurry of chicken and egg, and it should look a bit like this. Now what we need to do is get this out of here and into a piping bag. I'm gonna use a Ziploc bag. If you happen to have piping bags, that's fine. And there's no real glamorous way to do this if you've ever done this before. Simply just do your best, I suppose. Got it into the bag. Once it's all out of there, I'm gonna get it to 1 corner because this is gonna be our new piping bag. Don't cut the tip off yet. We could put this in the fridge to rest while we get some water boiling. And it's here. I'm gonna go ahead and put just a little bit of salt, maybe a half teaspoon. It doesn't really matter. Just salt your water. It's good practice if you're boiling things. I got my piping bag. I'm just going to cut off the corner with some scissors. And then I'm going to use my dominant hand, which is my right hand, and I'm going to gently squeeze. I'm going to use a knife to cut little noodles right into the water. There we go. Do this until it's all gone, basically. They should take roughly 2 minutes to cook, I believe. This is kind of the shape we're going for, like little gnocchi type things. And we're gonna let these cook for a couple minutes. And once they're cooked in the water, we also need to throw them onto a pan that's lined with foil. Because what we're gonna do is, once these are all cooked, we're gonna throw these into the oven at 350 degrees Fahrenheit for about 10 to 15 minutes. All we're really trying to do is dry these out a little more, maybe even get a touch of color. And while those are in, we can go ahead and set up our dredging station for the buffalo chicken part of this mac and cheese. All I've got is some cut up chicken thighs into bite-sized pieces, aka boneless wings, a couple eggs, and some pork rinds. And finally, a piece of parchment that's going to go into my air fryer, because I will be air frying these. You can cook these however you want to if you don't have an air fryer. Taking a chicken piece, throw it into the egg, into my pork rind crumbs, giving it a good coating, place it in on my parchment. That's it. That's all you got to do. Just keep doing this until you're all done. So this is what we're left with, nice little chunks of coated chicken. I'm gonna throw these into the air fryer at 375 for about 15 minutes until they're nice and golden brown, a little crisp to the touch. And while these were in the air fryer, I went ahead and made my cheese sauce for the mac and cheese, which is gonna start with 144 grams of half and half, which is roughly 5 ounces. And I did grams because I'm going to be using sodium citrate to make our cheese sauce. If you don't want to use that, you don't have to use that. I'm only doing this just because I know that makes a better cheese sauce. I will leave in the description below an alternate version of this recipe for the cheese sauce, but for the purposes of the video, I'm going to be following this recipe. So I've added my half and half to my pan that's been set over medium heat. I'm going to add that, and then I'm going to add in 180 grams of sharp cheddar, or about 6.5 ounces. I'm going to sprinkle in my sodium citrate. This is 6.3 grams worth. 2 ounces of hot sauce of your choice. I'm using Crystal Louisiana hot sauce. And I'm going to get a whisk and just start mixing that together. Basically, what we're going to do is heat this through until it is nice and smooth. And once it's there, we can turn the heat off, and then we'll want to season this up. This is simply a half teaspoon of salt, quarter teaspoon of pepper, quarter teaspoon of garlic powder, and a half teaspoon of onion powder. And what you should be left with is a nice, smooth, very cheesy sauce. So the cheese sauce is done. I think it's finally time to assemble this thing. To assemble this, I've got my chicken pasta ready. I'm gonna throw in about 1 ounce of shredded mozzarella. This isn't totally necessary, but what it's gonna do is allow me to get a nice, cheesy, meltiness through the whole thing. While I have my cheese sauce, I do want some real cheese texture going on too. And to this, I'm gonna add my cheese sauce. And then we're going to get a spatula and just gently fold all of this together. If you start going crazy with a spoon or whatever, it's gonna break this chicken up. You really want these to be kind of together. You want them to be whole pieces. That's pretty incorporated. That didn't take long at all. Now what we're gonna do is get our vessel of choice. And for me, it's gonna be a small cast iron pan. Just go ahead and throw that right in there. And then what I'm gonna do is take my chicken, Throw it into a bowl. Add just a little more hot sauce to that. Get that coated, because I do want, buffalo chicken pieces on this as well. But I want this sauce to kind of cook in with this chicken. Take a little more mozzarella. I'm going to take this entire thing, just make sure it's a heat-safe dish. I'm going to throw it to the oven at 350 degrees Fahrenheit for about 15 minutes or until it is golden brown and bubbly. This is just so hot. The pan's hot, the chicken, everything's hot. Let me let this cool off for a few minutes and we'll come back and we'll give it a taste. Did anybody else see that squirrel? Anyways, let's go ahead and give this a taste. It smells so good. I'm worried that's still insanely hot. Oh yeah, it's definitely still really hot, but that's okay. Get a little piece of chicken. Well, I guess it's all chicken. It's mostly just chicken and cheese. Guys, this is gonna burn my face off, but I'm doing it for you. I'm gonna go out on a limb and say this is probably the most decadent thing I've cooked on this channel so far. I didn't think about it. I didn't think about how much cheese was in this as I was developing it, but that's not a problem whatsoever. The tanginess from the crystal hot sauce cuts through all this insane amount of cheese really well, actually. I'm willing to bet you're only going to be able to maybe eat a quarter of this before you're like, I don't think I can eat this anymore. It's really good. It hits that mac and cheese spot. So if you and your family have been having a craving for mac and cheese, but you can't eat pasta or you're just not willing to eat pasta, and if you like buffalo things, this is a great version of this mac and cheese. This will hit that spot. I guarantee that. So, y'all enjoy. While digging around deep in a storage shed at the restaurant, I found this ancient piece of technology. A CookShack electric smoker from the 90s. The screen is almost impossible to read, and the single knob barely works, but it keeps the smoker at 225 degrees Fahrenheit. But this thing is still a beast of a smoker. It hasn't been used in quite a while, so I need to get this baby cleaned up. One of the first smoked foods I can remember eating would be ribs. I don't remember who made them, but I will credit my brother with making them, since I know he really enjoyed cooking them. I will be following a similar process on how he would have done this, but with some simple seasoning. Speaking of simple seasoning, simply combine 4 parts salt to 1 part black pepper. You can skip the pepper if you want to keep it even more simple, but it does add a nice flavor to the end product. I like to prep my ribs on a baking sheet just for the sake of keeping things clean. Feel free to prep yours on the bathroom floor if that's more your speed. Today, I'll be using some St. Louis style spare ribs. It's just what I had readily available. You can always take spare ribs and trim them into St. Louis style yourself. No matter what you decide on, just know that you'll likely get at least 2 racks per pack. So, be ready to feed at least a couple of people or to have some leftovers. Trim them up if there are any unnecessary flaps hanging around. You don't have to go too crazy because almost all of this fat will render. You can also remove the silver skin on the backside of the ribs as well, but if you're feeling lazy like I was on this day, just score it and let it separate while it cooks. Once all of these small things are done, season both sides of these racks with your salt and pepper blend. It should look like your kitchen counter on a Friday night after hitting the club. That's right, press in those powdery flakes. Today we'll be smoking these ribs over applewood smoke, low and slow. 225 degrees Fahrenheit to be exact. This whole process should take about 3 hours in total with new steps at each hour. The first hour we will simply blast these meaty guys with smoke. When you open the smoker for the first time, you may notice that the ribs are looking a little dry. I'm going to use some white distilled vinegar to sprinkle on top of mine every 15 minutes. Also known as the rib spritzer hour. Feel free to use whatever liquid you want if you're not looking for that kind of flavor. Some ham base mixed with water would be nice here as well. After the spritzer hour, it's time to finish them off. They've gotten enough smoke and they need to get tender now. Simply place them in some parchment paper with your choice of liquid, preferably whatever you use during the spritzing hour, and wrap them tightly. Doing this will help to braise the ribs and to pull the meat back from the bone. After this final hour, they are ready. If you want to be meticulous about your rib tenderness, aim for about 200 degrees Fahrenheit. Now we can cut into these and reap the rewards of our zen-like patience. Time got away from me during the spritzing hour, so I only spritzed my ribs 2 times, and the tops dried out a touch. But you won't make my same mistake, will you? It's not too big of a deal because we have a decent smoke ring and a juicy rib. These aren't completely fall off the bone either, which is quite nice. I'm not a big fan of when I have to essentially drink my ribs and figure out where all the cartilage is, but these were simple and delicious. Just using salt and pepper really lets the ribs shine, a nice smoky flavor surrounding a juicy cut of meat. I want to start this recipe by saying that if you're on a strict diet, there's nothing wrong with following these steps with some nice beef bone broth and salt only. You don't have to have all these extra ingredients for a tasty outcome. Just letting all my carnivore folks know that I'm still thinking about you and I do love you. For this smoked barbacoa, we will be going through a fair amount of ingredients. And I'll start off with about 5 cloves of garlic. Simply smash them and get them finely chopped. Place this into a bowl, and then we can move on to our chipotles and adobo sauce. To be honest, I enjoy the adobo sauce more than the chipotles themselves, but the peppers add a nice smoky flavor and a little heat. Feel free to strain the sauce from the peppers and use that only if you want to skip the bulk of the heat. For my recipe, I decided to go with 3 of the peppers with most of the sauce from the can. Give them the same smash and chop treatment like you did the garlic, and toss that into your bowl. Next up, we need a little lime. We want to extract as much juice and information as possible from this little guy, so we need to put some pressure on him. Where's the Joker hiding? Cut it in half and then squeeze it into the bowl. Go ahead and throw the whole lime carcass in as well. Now, these roasted green chilies are an optional ingredient in my opinion. However, they were sitting right next to the chipotles, and I couldn't resist grabbing them as well. Throw an entire 4-ounce jar into the slop bowl of delicious flavors. Now we need to spice it up with some cumin. About a half teaspoon should be enough. Some oregano leaves in the amount of a 1/4 teaspoon. Some spice it onion powder in the amount of a half teaspoon. And finally some salt. Since I had this S&P blend left over from earlier, I use that, about a half teaspoon. The final step to finish off this zesty bowl is 2 cups of beef stock. I'm using watered down beef base here, which is just salty already. Give your mixture a taste for salt and adjust accordingly after adding your stock. I made a mistake by thinking that 5 bay leaves would be okay, but learn from me and go with about 2 instead. Give this a stir and set it aside. Now we can finally present the star of the show, 3.3 pounds of chuck roast. Give it the inaugural slap, and then we can start to break it down into smaller pieces. All we really need to do is cut this into manageable portions. After your beef is cut up, place a pan over medium-high heat. Since I'm using an aluminum pan, I'm going to add just a touch of olive oil to keep things from sticking. Now put the meat in the pan in small batches to keep it from steaming. All we're trying to do here is get some nice fond. Once you get some color on all sides like this, move it to some sort of heat-resistant dish. Repeat this until all of your meat is nicely brown, and there's a substantial buildup of fond. Oh yeah, that's that good shit. Remember that sauce we made earlier? If you don't, please go get checked out by a physician. I'm worried about you. Pour the sauce into the pan and begin to scrape the bottom to release the fond. We also want this to come to a light simmer before pouring it on top of the beef. Now it's time to take this out to the old smoky boy. I'm going to be smoking this over hickory low and slow, or about 225 degrees for 2 hours. To ensure all of it is smoked well, I will be turning the meat inside the pan every 30 minutes. After 2 hours, it smells amazing and the sauce is light in color a bit. Now cover this with a piece of parchment paper and some foil, and then place it into an oven or back into your smoker at 300 degrees Fahrenheit for about 45 more minutes or until it's fall apart tender. And after patiently waiting, this is what we're left with. Some of my larger chunks weren't quite falling completely apart, and I was running out of time at the restaurant, so I shredded what I could and chopped the rest. And let me tell you, this shit is good enough to make some tacos with. Simply add about 2 ounces of sharp cheddar to a non-stick surface that's set to medium heat. You may have to coax it into a perfect circle. Place a small handful of your meat on half the cheese, and then fold it over. Let it cook with the meat inside for maybe 2 minutes in total, ensuring to flip it once. Now, I'm usually hypercritical about the food I cook, but this is one of those rare occasions where I know I hit the nail directly in its stupid head. These are rich, juicy, and packed with flavor from the smoke, garlic, spices, and chilies. I don't think anyone would be upset about these tacos ever. So I like the idea of jalapeno poppers, but my stomach doesn't always like the idea of jalapeno poppers. But while I was thinking about this, I was like, oh, anything could be a popper. And no, not like the gas station fun time drug, you degenerates, but you know, what about like just a vessel that holds a cheese of some sort that's wrapped in bacon? That just sounds like a popper to me, and it doesn't matter what the vessel is, as long as it tastes good. And I was thinking to myself that chicken thighs probably taste pretty good. So let's just go ahead and use that as our vessel. The first thing we're going to do is get some plastic wrap out onto our work surface because we're going to have to beat the absolute crap out of this chicken. It's real thick right now. We don't want it to be so thick. And I'm going to do these one at a time just to kind of get you an idea of what to do. So I've got a chicken thigh. I preferably don't want all these excess little bits because that's just going to get in the way, but you can use those for other things. Smooth side, I'm going to put down, and then I'm going to put some more plastic on top of that. And then I'm going to grab a heavy object. I would use a meat mallet if I had one, but I don't have one anymore. And I legally can't talk about why I don't have it, but just know I'm going to have to use this pan. All we're going to do is take this piece of chicken and make it as thin as possible. As you can see right now, there are peaks and valleys going on, so all you got to do is... And you only just want to use the weight of the pan. You don't have to like smack it or anything like that. It's a little too much effort. Plus you're going to break your cutting board or your table if you do that. And after smacking your meat around, we can reveal a nice, even piece of chicken. Take it out. It should be rather uniform. Should fit the hand nicely. Should be a nice little cold glove of meat. And now that it's flattened, we do want to get it seasoned up. And I'm going to use some steak dust from my company, Carnivore Companion. You can use salt and pepper. Really, you can use anything you want, really. I'm not going to judge your seasoning choices. Put that on both sides. All right, we got this seasoned up, and now we need to add some sort of cheese. I'm just going to use some shredded cheddar. You can use whatever you want. Monterey Jack would be great on this, pepper jack, you know, anything like that. And then we're gonna get this out of the way and get a slice of bacon onto a clean surface so we can start wrapping this thing. So I got my chicken with my cheese. I'm just gonna roll it up like a little joint, put it on the edge of my bacon, and just start rolling that thing around. And it should be looking a bit like this, a nice little package of chicken, bacon, and cheese. And I'm not gonna bore you with the other ones I'm gonna make, so let's go ahead and get to the point where those are done. All right, I got a couple more done. They're looking really good, actually. I went ahead and added some toothpicks to these on each end to keep them together. I don't want the integrity to fall apart, kind of like Enron did. But these are good to go. If you want to make these ahead of time, you can just do this, wrap them up, refrigerate them, and then, you know, cook them the next day. But I've got my oven set to 350 degrees Fahrenheit. I'm gonna throw these in for roughly 30 minutes, and I'll let them sit under the broiler for about 2 minutes after that. Just get a little extra color on the bacon. These are insanely hot. I'm gonna let these sit for about 10 minutes, and you know what we do whenever we let things rest. Enjoy your squirrels. All right, after 10 minutes, these are looking so good, like little packages of cheese bacon goodness. I'm gonna cut one of these open as well, get a cross section. I will say that some of the cheese oozed out, but there's still some cheese in it. It's unbelievably juicy. Like, do you see how juicy that is? Oh, yeah. Let's not wait any longer. Let's give these a taste. I need a napkin. Holy crap, that's good. Like I said, if you want something like the next day, this is a great thing. Just go ahead and make. You can make like 10 of these, have these ready for your family. The cheese does ooze out a bit. I might recommend using a block of cheese and cutting some nice rectangles and putting it in the middle and then wrapping it, but it's just not as much as I was hoping for. Either way, it's still got a cheesy flavor. There's a good amount of cheese in it still. And the flavor is just fantastic. Like, this obviously just works. You probably had bacon, chicken, and cheese before, but it just feels very rare that I kind of see it in this type of setting. And if you want to dip this in something, I think if you mix some ranch seasoning or black pepper and garlic into some sour cream and dip it in it, just do that. I don't even know why I didn't do that. The biggest problem with smoked chicken is that it's usually dry. I'm going to try to mitigate that as much as possible with a brine. Get a bucket or container with 1 gallon of the freshest tap water you can find and add in 1 cup of salt. A lot of people say to heat the water while mixing the salt, but with just 2 to 3 minutes of whisking, you could see we have made a clear salt solution without heat. Now, it's time for the chicken to make its appearance. Remove it from its little body bag and let's trim it up a touch. There was a lot of excess neck here, so I cut that off. There was also an excess of butt flap, so I cut that off as well. Let's see if there's any goodies inside. Here, we can see the chicken penis. And this is the heart. The gizzards, I think. And finally, a big floppy liver. You can smoke all of these extras as well if you want, but I don't want, so I'll be giving these to the raccoons outside. Place the chicken into your bucket of brine. If it tries to float to the top, place a plate or a bowl on top of it to keep it submerged. Let this go for 4 hours or at least overnight for better results. Now that it's the next day, we could prep this bird for the smoker. I will be spatchcocking this chicken for a more even cook. This simply involves removing the spine so that it can lay flat. All you have to do is cut through the rib bones until you reach where the thigh attaches to the spine. Once you're there, find the joint and cut through it. After you have one side done, simply repeat the same steps on the other. You can use this portion to make some stock, so feel free to save this in the freezer or give it to those adorable little guys digging through your trash right now. We can flip our chicken over and press in the middle of the breastbone to flatten it out. Here I still have a good bit of that salt and pepper blend, but I want to add some extra flavors to it. I'll leave the full written recipe in the description below. A little garlic powder, a bit of onion powder, and finishing it up with a little smoked paprika. Jostle this around and mix it, and then season both sides. It doesn't need a ton of seasoning since it was brine, but most of this is just to ensure the skin is also delicious. Okay, we could take this out to the smoker where I'll be using a 50-50 mix of mesquite and hickory to smoke this chicken. I'll be doing this at 225 degrees Fahrenheit for about 1.5 hours to get some good smoke. Since I can't adjust the temperature, I'm going to have to bring it inside and toss it into the oven at 325 degrees Fahrenheit. I'm shooting for an internal temperature of 160 degrees Fahrenheit on the breast and 170 degrees Fahrenheit on the thigh. While that's cooking away, let's make a quick sour cream based white barbecue sauce. 1 cup sour cream, 1 tablespoon of horseradish, 1/4 teaspoon of fresh cracked black pepper, 1/4 teaspoon of onion powder, 1/4 teaspoon of garlic powder, 1 teaspoon of hot sauce, 1 teaspoon of Worcestershire sauce, 2 tablespoons of distilled white vinegar, and finally a 1/4 teaspoon of salt. If you didn't catch all that, it will be written in the description below. Give this a whisk until homogeneous and give it a taste for anything missing. I went ahead and added another tablespoon of vinegar because I like that tang. Okay, the chicken should be ready. The oven was quite brutal on the skin, but that's okay. If you smoked yours to completion, you shouldn't have this problem. But it's not really a problem because it still looks and smells fucking delicious. Dump those juices over the top and split this baby in half. Slap that half bird on a plate and top it with some of your sauce for a presentation. Yeah, that wasn't the best idea. Just put the sauce on the side. Presentation be damned, this is awesome. The brine did its job and kept it from drying out. The smoke flavor is fantastic, and that tang that the sauce provides is a nice complement to the dish. You didn't think I was going to leave out the mother of all smoked meats, did you? Of course not. Brisket is my favorite cut from any barbecue joint that offers it. The issue is that in Alabama, there are not many places that offer good brisket, which is why I'm thinking about opening a barbecue restaurant. If you're interested in that at all, leave a comment below. Brisket tends to have a lot of hard fat on it, so we need to trim it up a bit if yours is looking like mine. We need to rub this chunkus down with a rub of sorts. I'm going to go with 3/4 cup of salt, some more of that spice it onion powder, about 2 tablespoons worth, granulated garlic in the amount of 2 tablespoons, and about 1 tablespoon of black pepper. Give this a mix and sprinkle liberally all over this beast. This thing weighs about 12 pounds after trimming, so you're not going to overseason it. I promise. For the best results, let this sit for about 12 hours in the fridge to let some of that seasoning penetrate. After that time, it will have darkened a bit and stiffened up just a touch. Let's bring this out to our smoker, which is set to 225 degrees Fahrenheit, as usual. I'm going to be smoking this over a mix of hickory and applewood today. Let this smoke for about 6 hours or until an internal temperature of 165 Fahrenheit has been reached. Also added extra wood at the 3-hour mark to ensure it got enough smoke penetration. If you notice it drying out at all, you could spray it down with some beef broth, but since we let it sit in the seasoning overnight, we did not have that issue. It needs to finish cooking, and since we can't raise the temperature in the smoker, guess what we're going to do? That's right, bring it inside and wrap it in parchment paper and foil to let it finish in the oven. The key to wrapping this is to make sure all of your parchment paper / foil is folded up to prevent any of these juices from leaking out. The juice this produced will allow it to braise. Once you've got your beef package fully sealed up, place it onto a pan and into your oven or smoker at 275 degrees Fahrenheit. This will take about another 6 to 7 hours, but we're just looking for an internal temperature of at least 205 degrees Fahrenheit. Once it's there, let it rest in its wrapper for another hour. And after that painful hour, we can finally slice into our brisket. There are going to be 2 parts to this brisket, the flat and the point. You can remove the point separately if you like, but I like to keep the point on top just for larger cuts of brisket. No matter what you do, make sure you're cutting against the grain. You'll know you're doing this if you pull out a piece like this and it looks like a little accordion. And oh my, this is decadent. Don't squeeze your brisket like I did. You want to retain those juices. I just needed some visual representation to show how sexy this thing is. And that's it. Slice it up and enjoy it just like this. Hey there, my meaty friends. I know that we're only 4 seconds into this video, and so far you've seen 0% meat. That's because I live solely on hot lemon water now. Just kidding, I'm going to be poaching some salmon for salmon cakes. I'm going to go out on a limb right up front and say that these are going to be better than crab cakes. To continue this recipe, you're also going to need some bay leaves, some fresh dill, dried can work too, and like a 1/4 cup of salt. And finally, a couple cloves of garlic. Once everything is in there and your water has come to a light simmer, it's time for the fish. I'd say use pollock for the best salmon cakes, but today I'll be using salmon instead. Ploop this right into the simmering water and let it cook for about 5 minutes. After that 5 minutes, turn the heat off and let it sit for an additional 5 minutes. And now what we have left is our herbaceous tea. Just strain out the solids, including the salmon, and chug to your heart's desire. I guess if you want the salmon, you could admire how perfectly flaky it is. It's even flakier than some people I know, which is quite a feat. Break this up into a mixing bowl. We're going to be mixing it again, so you don't have to be super meticulous about this part. To that, you're going to want to add 1 egg, 1 ounce of pork rinds, about a 1/4 teaspoon of black pepper, and 2 tablespoons of not mayo. If you're asking what not mayo is, it's equal parts sour cream and cream cheese. You can also check out the card above. Once it's all in there, give this a spatulating. It should look a little something like this. A f***ing mess. Bring this hot pile of fish batter to the stove where you should have a pan set over medium heat. Add about 2 tablespoons of butter and let it melt. Go ahead and coat your hands with a little water and grab a wad of your fish slop. Press this into a patty and place it into the pan. I was able to get about 5 cakes out of this. Give all of these a nice little flip. They should be beautifully golden brown. If they're not, I don't know what to tell you. Try filling them in with a salmon-scented brown marker. Remove this from the pan and plate them up with some icky no-no food. The center of these look fantastic. They also smell f***ing amazing. Let's give this a bite. Yep, just as predicted. Better than a crab cake.